Hello everyone. Today we are going to study the Brook Part 1 written by Lord Alfred Tennyson. What is a brook? A brook means a small river or a stream. In this poem, it is the story of a brook's journey. The brook itself is narrating its story, and at certain places it's comparing its journey to a man's journey of life. Now let me tell you how I'm going to take up this topic. First we are going to read about the poet, then the introduction to the poem will be given, literary devices in the poem will be explained, after that the poem and its explanation, then the summary, and last the question and answers. Now let's read about the poet. Lord Tennyson was born in 1809, Lincolnshire. Lincolnshire is a small place in England, and he died in the year 1892. Poet laureate for over 40 years, Tennyson was a representative of the Victorian age. His skilled craftsmanship and noble ideals retained a large audience for poetry in an age when the novel was engrossing more and more readers. Victorian age is said to be when people were more engrossed reading the novels, but Lord Tennyson's poems were able to create a large audience. Introduction to the poem. In this poem, the poet is narrating a brook story in the first person. First person, that means the brook itself is narrating its story. He has personified the stream and it talks of its beginning, the journey through the various landforms, and finally its destination, which is the river. Now in this poem we'll be studying how the brook passes through the hills, mountains, villages, farms, and then it reaches finally its destination, that is a river. The poet compares a man's journey of life to the brook's story. The brook is eternal and flows forever, whereas man is transient. Transient here is temporary, short-lived. The brook says, men come and go, but I stay forever. The brook highlights us on this point that man is not everlasting as the brook is. Literary devices in the poem. In this poem, the poet has used many literary devices like rhymes, music, sounds. Everything is there. So now we are going to read it all one by one. The first one is personification. A non-human object or an animal is given abilities to behave like a human. Now we know how a human behaves. They can see, feel, touch, talk, hear. Now these qualities, when we find it in a non-living thing or an animal, then we say that it is personification. In this poem, the brook is a non-living thing and it's narrating its own story, so the brook is personified here. The next literary device is alliteration. Repetition of a consonant sound in the beginning of two or more consecutive words. Consonant sounds. Consonant sounds, as we all know, we have 26 alphabets, out of which 21 are consonants and 5 are vowels. So when these sounds are there, that is the consonant sound at the beginning of two or more consecutive words. Consecutive means one after the other. Example there, like sudden Sally. Sudden Sally, that means the sound of sir you can hear. Okay, and they are consecutive, that is one after the other. Second example, men may. Now here we can hear the sound of mer. So this is also alliteration. The next is repetition. Any word or sentence may be repeated in the same stanza or in the poem. Now here, any word or sentence that's repeated, that is coming again and again, whether it be in a stanza or in the poem, then it's called repetition. And what is the main purpose of repetition? That is to emphasize or create rhyming effect. Emphasize means to create focus on a particular thing that the poet wants to tell us, or to create any rhyming effect. The next literary device is inversion. The structure of a sentence is reversed. Now, structure of a sentence, we all know that first we have the subject, then the object. Subject is the doer of the action and object is the receiver of the action. So when they are reversed, that means when first the object comes and then the subject. The object is placed before the subject to lay emphasis and create distinction. Example there, till last by Philip's farm I flow. Now here Philip's farm, that is the object, and I is the subject. Now you can see that the object is used before the subject. So that is what? Inversion. The next literary device is onomatopoeia. Now the use of sounds to create dramatic effect. Sound words, that means that indicate sound, like chatter. Now chatter is what? To speak non-stop. Next is babble. Babble means to talk loudly, and murmur, that means to speak slowly. Now these all defines our speaking. So these words are called onomatopoeia. The next literary device is antithesis. Words which contrast or have opposite meanings. Opposites, we all know what it is. So come to the example like come, go, in, out. Now we know these are opposites. So these words, when they are used together or near to each other, then it's antithesis. With this, we have completed the literary devices that are used in the poem. Now in the second part of today's session, we will be understanding stanza 1 to 6, and the remaining stanzas will be explained to you in the next class.